Welcome to the Journey to Wholeness, a podcast by I See My Baby Incorporated. Here, we dive deep into powerful stories of those who have overcome life's greatest challenges, stories of resilience, healing, and renewed faith. I'm Alicia Hurt, your host, and each week we'll speak to individuals who have transformed struggles with infertility, battles with depression, and crisis of faith into profound growth and purpose. Hello, everyone. It's Alicia Hurt here, your servant leader, and I am here for another episode of the Journey to Wholeness. I have a phenomenal guest. Her name is Miss Tina Fletcher, and she has given us some time today to hear her awesome story. So as I always start, I always say, what brought you on your path to wholeness? Tell us a little bit about you. Let's go, Miss Tina.
Hi, how you going? Lovely to be here. Well, there's a lot of things that brought me to where I am today, but I'll start at the beginning. I started online like 30 years ago as a graphic and web designer. And then later on, I went into brand strategy and helping businesses craft their brands online. So, craft their stories. But what I realized as more and more women were coming online, that they were putting themselves out there, building their brands, sharing their expertise, but something wasn't kind of lining up. The stories that they were kind of telling other people weren't really starting with the stories that they told themselves. And what I mean by that is they were hesitating, they were over apologizing, they were reshaping themselves to fit into what they thought they should before they even hit publish, And I saw it more and more. And what I recognized, and I suppose the biggest thing, is that those stories that we share with the world, if we don't start them from that honesty about what we tell ourselves, somewhere along the line it becomes this disconnect. And, we wonder why we're not feeling the love of what we originally started to do. And that's sort of where it all started for me. That sort of changed everything. I realized that my value wasn't just helping people craft their external message. It was about having that conversation about the stories underneath. The ones that shape our yes, the ones that stop us from apologizing when we really didn't need to, the ones that allow us to make space for ourselves. So I went from a total nearly 360 in what my business now is. And my journey is about self-permission and teaching women that if they don't put themselves first, they can't help anybody else. Because if they don't put themselves first and grow their own personal strength, then what they give out is just exhaustion instead of their normal power. And that's that cost of that is that success isn't from self, it's from exhaustion. And let's face it, it's time to stop that. Let's just start building ourselves up, and that starts with us building ourselves up. So that's sort of how I got to where I am now.
Awesome. So we hear your accent. Please tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Australia. I'm in Brisbane at the moment. So yeah, I'm a Queenslander. Yes.
I love your accent. Yes. So you hit on some key points here. Hesitation. How does that come about? Like, why are we doing that?
I think we're conditioned to do it. If you think about it, what do you get told as a young girl? When you sit quietly and you're playing quietly, oh, you're a good girl. If you're out being crazy and running around, oh, it's a phase, she'll get through that. Like I was a tomboy, and I remember hearing so many times, oh, you'll grow out of it, you'll grow out of it. I never did. That was who I was. Did I learn how to put a pretty facade on it and put a dress on and make myself look like I was supposed to? Absolutely. But I think what you are is what you are. But we're so conditioned from basically birth to be good girls, follow that good girl rule book that, yeah, I don't even think we even realize we're doing it. It's all done on autopilot.
Yeah. Now, you also made a reference to being honest with yourself. We always hear someone talk about, no, be honest, tell people the truth. But when you said be honest with yourself, that hit a nerve because I'm like, you're right. Talk more about that.
being honest with yourself doesn't mean. See, this is the thing, is like a lot of people now are going online and they're showing all their good, bads, and uglies. And, you know, a lot of people go, oh, well, I don't want to do that. And I don't think you have to do it. If you want to do it, sure. But being honest with yourself knows where you're starting from. Like if I'm starting from a place where I'm feeling a bit of a mess today, how do I honestly make myself to where I need to be able to do my business, or just go out the door and do my work if I'm working for somebody else, or, you know, be good for my children. So that's where that comes from. And I think we kind of forget that. We forget how important that is. Um, and it's hard, but it's if you don't start acknowledging it and turn yourself off this autopilot and say, hang on a sec, did I just do that out of autopilot because it's what I'm being conditioned to do, or did I really want to do that? You kind of, you know, till you've turned that off and acknowledged it, you're really in a place of you're just going to keep doing it. You're just going to keep repeating the cycle, unfortunately.
I agree. I have recently had self-discovery on me being caught up on titles. Hear me out. When I grew up, it was, you have to have respect for your elders, which it looks a little different now these day and ages, right? Kids are they're different. But if you hear pastor so-and-so, bishop so-and-so, you automatically, or doctor so-and-so, maybe president, vice president, council member, mayor, you automatically like, oh my God, like all hell, right? And so as I've grown up, even for my mom, rest in peace, and my dad, I give reverence and respect, but I'm like, wait a minute, it's a little different though. Like I can give respect, but I also can't put myself beneath to say that they're higher than, they're the same. And my husband always reassures me of this, like, what is your problem? Like I'll start getting like more clumsy than I normally am. My palms will get sweaty. It's so crazy, but it's taken me at 41 to say, Alicia, be honest with yourself. Why do you do that? And a newer friend of mine said the same thing, like, why do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. And so I had to like really get into myself. And I was like, whoa, because it's been ingrained in me. And actually that's where some of my conflict with others and myself, and me having boundaries, because you have a title, it's okay for my boundaries not to matter. And that's not true, And so when you said that, girl, this ain't about nobody else listening. I'm taking this for me. I probably need to schedule some time with you, because it really hits something with me. Like that's what I'm actually battling with. Having to understand that none of us are God. None of us are above anyone else. We're just doing things differently. We have different gifts. But I have to be honest with myself. Like I'm important too. I'm important too. What I say matters, and if it's no, period. Right. So really sitting back and reflecting, and that takes a lot of work. Like Tina, you're saying it where like I do. Oh, it's just so easy. It is not.
No. It is not easy. It is very not easy. And that's why I talk about starting with just something simple. Don't try to reinvent the whole wheel. Don't say, okay, today I'm going to throw everything out. I'm doing this new version of me. Everybody watch out. This is what's happening. Because it's not going, it's like starting the new gym thing instead of just going and, starting to walk first and doing the simple exercises. You go and start running a marathon tomorrow. You're just not going to succeed, are you? Yeah. So I start with recognizing that you do have to put yourself first. Self-permission is everything. And it might start with, okay, so let's say you asked me a question. Say you asked me to do something. And I went, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then I walked away and I went, hang on a sec, did I actually think about it, or did I just do it on autopilot? Did I just agree because I've been conditioned to agree and I'm an agreeable person, and that's okay, I can fit you into my schedule, because sure, I want to do 6 schedule things straight after each other, because isn't that what we always do? So what you need to do is just pause, change that autopilot to conscious choice. So all you could do today is, when somebody asked you something, and there's another caveat on this, I'll tell you in a sec, just say, hang on a sec, do I want to do it? Now, sometimes you can't not do what you have to do. Like, if your boss says, hey, I need you to do this, You can't say, oh, well, go jump in the lake, boss. I'm not doing it as much as you'd like to. But what you can do is you can mirror it back to them and say, so you want me to do this? I don't feel I have enough time, or I don't think I can fit this in. Could we adjust this or whatever? Or just mirror it back and pause. Say, so you want me to do this in this amount of time with these things? And a lot of times they look at it and go, yeah, that's a bit unreasonable, isn't it? Or they double down, and then you go, okay, so you need me to do that. Well, to do that, I'm going to have to drop this, and this to get it done to the quality you want. And they go, oh, okay then. And suddenly there's this dialogue happening, but because you didn't just agree for the sake of agree. Now, a lot of times you might still want to do what you're going to agree with, but suddenly it's a conscious choice.
That's right.
And that's where your power lies. Now, this is where I said there was a caveat. You do it to yourself too. Think about it. What do you do when you get up in the morning? You go into the mirror and you go, oh, my hair's a mess. Oh, I look like I'm, way too old. Oh, my goodness. And you beat yourself up. And straight away, now, would you say that to your friend? That's exactly right. So if you wouldn't say it to the friend, why aren't you being your own friend and why are you saying that to yourself? How about just change it around? Yeah, my hair is a mess, but give me 5 minutes and a brush no, not a brush for me, but some people a brush and, a bit of hairspray, and I can make something out of this, even if it's a messy bun today.
That's right.
Okay, I look a little bit older than I am. Well, that's today. I'm going to embrace it. We can't always have everything perfect, but you can definitely put yourself first and always consciously say, hang on a sec, I'm valuable. And when I'm valuable, I give more to others from a place of this value. Because let's face it, if you're exhausted, how do you give more?
That's
You're
right.
just giving parts of yourself that aren't good enough. And then, you then beat yourself up over that as well, don't you?
Yes. Yes. And I like what you said about us being conditioned for these things, and how it's just, like you said, it's like being a robot. It's like, okay, I don't know if you've heard this, but it's little girls should be seen and not heard. You keep hearing it. Little girls should be seen and not heard. So I'm growing up, it's like, oh, I should be seen but not heard. That's a conditioning. And so you're like, oh, you said it's council member so-and-so or mayor, so I should be seen and not heard. When no, that's not going to help anyone. That's oppressive.
Their voice is more important.
Yes, their voice is more important.
Yeah.
And at 41, I'm able to say, no. Now, see, when I was younger, teen years, and maybe they call it the rebellious, but it was just, I'm going to speak up for myself. And I just have always been there. So now as you get older and you're like, okay, like you said, at your 9 to 5, you can't say to your boss, like, I'm not doing that. That sounds crazy. It's like, okay, you got to find a different way. You got to fine tune it, right? And now as a mother, now I'm making an impression on conditioning my children, right? And as you were talking, I was like, oh God, what do I need to redo or change in the way that I'm conditioning my girls and my son? Because I don't want it to take 41 years for them to have an aha moment and to show up for themselves, right? And to have to do this healing work. So for the listeners out there, just know, yes, it took me 41 years. However, whenever it's your time, it's your time. And if you're listening to this now, it's your time. You didn't just stumble upon this broadcast, right? And Tina has those tools that you need and the support that is necessary for you to know that my voice means something. I can show up for myself. And then the other one you said was to make space for yourself. Can you go into further details with that?
Yeah, when I talk about space, it starts from, as I said, that little space between the ask and the answer. It can be a microsecond, it can be a couple of seconds. Like, you can pause and just breathe and do it. You can even close your eyes if you're in that sort of position or in an environment that allows you to do it. But it also can be a microsecond where you consciously go, hang on, I'm coming first. Does this situation mean that it's a win for me and for the other person? Because if I give them a yes when I mean a no, or if I give them a sure, I'll do it, no problems. Of course I can fit that in, when you know you can't. What are you going to give them? You're going to give them substantial work, or you're going to work yourself to death and then have to have 2 days off because you're now sick, because you're exhausted. So it isn't a win. It might feel like it at that moment because you didn't have to do what you're conditioned not to do, which was concentration putting yourself out there in an uncomfortable situation when it was easy just to agree. Yes, it is hard, but that space allows you to recognize that you're most important in your life. And that is not selfish. And I'll tell you why I use this word all the time, because we're so conditioned to be, God, you're selfish. Do you really want to do that? Oh, you're always such a selfish person. Why are women so selfish? Selfish, we're reclaiming it. It's my word. When I say I'm selfish, I go, yes, I'm absolutely selfish, because if I'm not selfish, how am I giving you the best? And that's what I talk about when I say that space to put yourself first.
I agree with what you're saying. And I'm thinking about it because I'm like, I have those moments. Like recently I had that moment, and I was like, told my friend about it. And I was like, I don't know why I'm beating myself up about not extending myself when I personally don't want to, right? And no one asked me to, but it's a part of that conditioning where it's like, no, you have to support, you have to help, you have to. And it's like, you don't have to. And I made it all up in my mind. And I was like, well, you kind of have to. Well, you should. And it's no, and no one, Tina, no one asked me to do it. But in my mind, I was like, I got to do it. And it's like, well, why do I got to do it? Why does Alicia have to do it? Right? That's that part of making space for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's it, Alicia. That is that part. And like when you start putting yourself first, people are not always going to feel comfortable with it. They're going to go,
Right.
hang on a sec, Alicia, usually you just agree with me. Why are you suddenly not agreeing with me? But they'll get over it. If they don't, maybe it's time that they shouldn't be in your life.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
sure, if you're in a situation, and I use work as an example, but I don't know, because I've worked for 30 years for myself, so I'm only using it as an example because more people can relate to it. So if I get the example wrong, I apologize. It's just that it's not my life. I haven't worked for somebody in 30 years. I've been very lucky to be online and work for myself. So sometimes my things may feel a little bit cliche, but it's only because it's only hearing it from other people.
Yeah.
So and I think when you start realizing that those good girl rules and that weight of the yes is what I call it, it is time. As I've got in my book, I say it's time to take selfish back. It's time to put yourself first. Because if you don't, and I'll say it, and I'm going to say it so many times by the end of this, you're going to say, oh my God, please don't tell me again. If you don't put yourself first, you can't give value to other people from the same position. You're giving it from exhaustion, not personal strength. And if you don't understand that, it frustrates yourself. You get angry, and like, that's what I talk about in the weight of yes. You come home every day, every time you say yes where you didn't make a conscious choice, think of it as physically putting a pound in your pocket. Imagine by the end of the day how many pounds you've got in your pocket. Then you walk into your house with your loved ones and you've got all this extra weight. Now, you don't just shake it off when you walk in the door, do you? You're carrying it around, and then they're asking you things, and suddenly you snap at your daughter, which you didn't mean to snap at, but because you're carrying all this extra weight of all these yeses that you said, and she doesn't know that because she wasn't with you for the day. So you've got to learn to, when you do that conscious yes, and whether you have to do something you don't want or you do want, you can at least not take that weight on. So when you walk out the door from work, which may not have been a good day, or it might have been a fabulous day, but either way, you're weightless. And you go home and you're weightless, and then your children see you, the amazing person you are, not the person that was weighed down with all this unnecessary weight that you had.
Yep, I agree. So let me ask you this question. What was a turning point for you to say, you know what? I'm going to change this, and I'm going to do something outside of the norm of what I was conditioned for, make space for myself, stop hesitating. Like, what was your turning point?
Okay, so I'd love to say it was some big, profound, aha moment, and the sun was shining and all the rest of it. It really wasn't. I wish I could make one up, but I know if I did, as I was saying it, I was lying, because I wouldn't be able to hold a straight face. So it wasn't one big moment. It was a tiny series of pauses that I acknowledged and realized that everything was changing, and I caught myself saying yes to things that I didn't want to do, just out of habit and that expectation of them expecting it from me, especially as somebody who worked for themselves. When I had the kids at school, they're all grown up now, but I was expected to be available to do things. Oh, you can just work around your work. Yeah. I mean, I'm already doing a 10-hour day, but sure, I can fit 2 hours in the middle of the day to just come and do something at the school. And I normally did. And most of the time I was happy to do that because that's why I work for myself, to be able to do those things. But it become an expectation. And when it becomes an expectation, I don't have a choice then. So, as I said, these turning point was a whole lot of these stacked up. And then I realized that it wasn't about, having all the answers. It was about giving myself permission to find the right answers, or even the right questions, so I could find the answers. And that's what's taken me on this journey now of having these conversations about, the weight of yes, and, you unfinished, and all of these other conversations, is that I realized that these conversations need to happen.
That's right. That's
so
right.
That was my turning point. Sorry, it wasn't very profound.
No, it's okay. It's so funny because it's like, yeah, as you start to tell it, they were like, all right, the lights went down low. And I gazed it like you're reading a book or a story, right? It's like, no, this is real life. Let me just tell you right now. I love it. So has your faith or your spirituality shaped your healing process?
I think it has, in a way, because to me, faith isn't about like rigid rules. It's about trusting that you were never meant to live your life on, constant depletion and exhaustion. So it allowed me to unlearn the idea that self-sacrifice equals worthiness. And that was a big thing for me, because I'd always believed, like a lot what you were talking before about, people in position meant what they said to me and how I had to react to them. I believe in a God that calls for us to be fully present in our own lives, not just in service to everybody else for their comfort. And the idea of it kind of resonated with me, that feeling that we have this power in this space, and if we claim it and be the best of ourselves, once again, what am I going to say? We can give more value to other people.
That's right. At the end of the day, because I actually just had a meeting before ours, and we were just chatting it up and just talking about our life experiences and things of that sort. And what it all boils down to is servanthood. And she served in a different capacity than I did, but she recognized that we are showing up for ourselves to show up for others. And that is true servanthood. I believe where I would say Jesus and she would say Yahweh or what have you, the powers, however you say it, name it. We both were able to share and agree that we are servant leaders, and we show up for others. But we had to add to that, we can't pour from an empty vessel. And what you're saying, it truly resonates, because it's like, all right, well, if you're fatigued, if you can, and our word, literally, I use the same word, sabbatical. And I said, I am on a sabbatical. It's people think, you put your own twist or whatever. And I'm like, just look up the definition. You're setting yourself apart. You're retreating, right? Because you got to be filled back up. And I'm showing up for myself in that way. And it looks different, because at the end of the day, as a servanthood, I have to be able to be whole in order to give to other people. That's one of my practices, one of my routines, things of that sort. But if you could share with us like some of your practices and routines that have helped you along the way.
Yeah. So I kind of, my main practice is the pause. I know it sounds simple, but to me it's kind of radical, because that space between the ask and the answer is where you consciously come into yourself. It's kind of where you shape what the moment's going to be, which could shape what the day's going to be, and it's really important. And then, on top of that pause, I put the say it back. So it's pause and then say it back. And saying back is that mirroring. Let me think about that. What exactly did you need? Can you clarify that? Hang on a sec. I don't mean that to say that to myself. I wouldn't say that to my friend. So that's the sort of
Right.
things, that's the main premise of what I talk about, is that space between the ask and the answer, where, you lift that weight of yes, you find out if, you're enough, because women always tell themselves these lies about they're not being enough, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, so that's sort of where it is for me. It's simple. I'm a simple person. I like to keep things simple.
I agree with you in that when you made the statement of I am not enough or am I enough, it reminded me of the moment years ago we were on vacation in Orlando and we were playing, I don't know if we were playing cards or something, but anyway, we were sitting out on the porch with my dad and my sister, and I had liquid courage in me, okay? Whatever it takes, it took liquid courage. And I remember my boss at the time, I had broken down with him, and he's like, what's the problem? And because I wanted to always get things right. I was working for Department of Transportation. And he was like, why are you doing this? Like, it's fine. And I was like, because I have to, and I have to set an example. And basically it was, I'm not enough. And so I had that moment with my dad, and it all came out with the liquid courage, and it boiled down to me hearing from him that I was enough. You guys, I don't want to cry about it. This was many, 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 many years ago, but you triggered me. You triggered me. And I believe did I have kids yet? I don't even think, maybe I had one. So I had to be at least almost 30 or 30, just to give you the timeline of how, as a woman, you carry these things, right? And he was like, I am proud of you. I've always been proud, but I had to hear it. And now at my age, I can say I'm enough, but I needed that. That was that little girl that needed to hear that. And then how it spilled out with my boss, he could have been like, girl, you crazy. You can't manage this building. Like, what's going on? But it shows up in our lives in so many different ways, shapes, forms, right? And we have to know and recognize it. And what you said, it seems simple, but it is so practical. Pause.
Yes.
Just like I just did, which is an awkward pause for an interview. But pause, like literally do that and make a conscious decision like, whoa, what is that? Should I? Do I want to? Is that me showing up for myself? Or is that me saying that my boundary is not enough because you're more important, right? We can do these things. Tina.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, I know recently I was in a Zoom and it was with a couple of people, and I tend to be more of a sit back person when there's a lot of people around. I'm not the person who dives in first. And I had something to say, and I could see that if I didn't kind of butt in a little bit, I wasn't going to get any words in, let alone a few words.
Right.
But then I said, oh yes, I agree with that. And then I just paused, and it was probably a good 3 seconds. Now on a Zoom, that's kind of scary, but it just stopped the whole conversation. And then we started having a conversation, not people all just talking at each other, you know? And to me, that's what made it so powerful, because I wasn't wanting to disrespect them. I loved how excited they were about what they were saying, but everybody was kind of talking at each other. Nobody was having a conversation, because we're on a Zoom meeting, and everybody had their opinions and all the rest of it. And that was one time where I used it in a way that I'd never used it before. Because nobody asked me anything. So there wasn't the ask and the answer, but it was still the same thing, where I made a conscious choice on how I was going to respond to that situation. And it was kind of cool. And then we ended up having a conversation about that later on, because they asked me, why did I do that? But because I wasn't trying to do it to sell this concept. I was doing it because it was the only way that I could see that we actually could move back onto what I wanted, which was for us to have an amazing conversation, because it was amazing people in that room that I wanted to talk to, not just be talked at.
That's right. I agree, because a lot of times we're not listening. We're not acting like we're listening to respond. And it's like, no, like, did that really hit you? Did you digest that? Did you chew it up before you swallowed it? Like, yeah, I get it. I'm gonna try that. And they're gonna be like, what in the world is she doing? I'm like, call and reach out to Tina Fletcher because she told me to do it.
And it is uncomfortable. Oh my God, so many times I've went, I can't do this. Let's just make it a little micro pause and quickly just get moving, and that's fine. But sometimes the power isn't that, it is power and it's your power and you deserve that power. And, why shouldn't you give it to yourself and to other people?
Yeah, I agree. So, what role has community support played in your journey?
Okay, so this goes to what we were talking before. I believe the right people will respect your pause.
Mm-hmm.
The wrong people will absolutely, totally resent it. They will find it uncomfortable. They will want you to go back to who you were. That's their problem, not yours.
Say it again.
Remember,
say it again.
You're coming from self-permission. So if they don't choose to like who you're becoming, well then, if you can't have them out of your life, you can at least remove them from your emotional life. So yes, you can be polite to them. You can do what you have to do with them, but let them resent it. That's their problem, not yours. I learned that community isn't just about who's around you. It's about who respects your ability to choose, and this can be, friends, family, and, your online friends and community, which we're so lucky to have these days. You can find amazing people that you may never have found before. And I think the biggest thing, that the support that I've had, is that I've been able to create these amazing relationships that only existed because I stopped constantly overgiving. Because before, I was valuable to them, but not valuable to myself. So who they were getting wasn't the person I wanted to be. So then I wasn't having relationships with them. I was just dialing it in,
Yep,
and I think real community happens when you stop performing and start showing up as yourself.
It's
Fully,
so true.
Unapologetic and without, and no automatic yeses either.
Yes, I agree. And what you said earlier, I have witnessed that where I'm like, yep, nope, not doing it. Nope. And they're like, what? Like you've always, what's wrong with you? Is it the enemy? I'm like, don't blame it on the enemy. It's Alicia. And I'm showing up for myself. I don't want to do it. And I'm not going to do it. And it's okay.
And that's when they would have went, oh, Alicia, you're being selfish now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, yep, I'm taking selfish back, which means I come first.
That's right.
And I'll help you when I'm ready.
That's right. Or not. And it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. So, well, you already gave the advice. I was going to say, what advice would you give? But do you have anything else you want to give?
Yeah. Start small. Yeah. The first pause is going to be awkward. The first 10 pauses may be awkward. The first 100 may be awkward. Until it clicks in your brain, it's going to be awkward. But guess what? Do it anyway.
Sorry.
You'll notice. Do it. You'll notice when you start taking your brain off that autopilot, and when you start seeing, before you go, oh yes, you're available, and you suddenly go, oh yes, sure, I'm available. It's so different. The power in that personal strength you make is so amazing, and the other person, as much as they don't know the difference, they sort of feel it too. Yeah. And suddenly your time and your value is respected more. Yeah. And that's the advice I probably would give.
So as we wrap up today, and we had the listener just listening from the beginning to the end, you gave so many nuggets of wisdom. I spit out all my life. We had a whole therapy session here. What would you want them to walk away with?
Ooh, okay. What would I like you to walk away? Okay. You've already, that with all of this, it creates choices. By making that space and creating the pause and taking yourself off autopilot, you're choosing yourself first. You don't have to burn everything down. You don't have to justify why you're pausing. You don't have to ask anybody else for permission. Remember, this is self-permission. You're not saying, oh, do you mind if we just take a pause? No. This is self-permission, and that space between the ask and the answer, and that's where your power's been hiding all along. So take it back. It's yours.
Amen. So Tina, if folks are like, oh, this is so good. Oh my God, I need more. How can they reach out to you?
Okay, so the easiest place to reach me is on my website, and it's got all my social media links and everything as well. I have currently some books because I'm finding that people want to absorb things at their own time more so these days than ever before. So I've made them at a reasonable price. They're only like $9 at the moment. I have two. I might have three books up by the time this goes live. I have The Weight of Yes, which is time to take selfish back. I'm Not Enough, and Other Lies Women Tell Themselves. And my other two books that are going to be out, they're written now. I just have to actually do the tech and put them up. Is No Instructions Required, No Map, No Manual, Just You.
Ooh.
And my last book in the series is You Unfinished and the Perfectly Imperfect Path. So if you want to come over and see me on social media, I'd love to chat. If you answer on anything, or make a comment, I will talk back to you. Happy to do that. Otherwise, come and grab one of my books, have a read. There's some bonuses with them and all this sort of good stuff.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Tina, for your time. Thank you for being raw, transparent, vulnerable, because we need that. Okay. We as women, we need that. And I just want to take a pause for a second. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to pause. I'm not going to. I just love it. I can't wait to do it. But thank you so much for your time. I know this won't be the last time we talk. You guys, bye for now. And we are sending you love and light on your journey to wholeness. Take care. Thank you for joining us today on the journey to wholeness. We hope this episode has offered you a sense of hope, comfort, and perhaps even a new perspective on your own journey. If today's story resonated with you, remember that you're not alone. Healing is a process, and each step you take brings you closer to wholeness. Here, we believe in the power of community, and we're so grateful to have you as a part of us. To stay connected with us, follow I See My Baby Incorporated on social media and visit our website at www.iseemybaby.org. If you or someone you know has a story to share, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep walking, keep healing, and remember, your journey to wholeness is worth every step. Take care, and thank you for listening.